Is everybody having a good time? Are you learning more than you thought that you would have learned tonight? I tell you, I'm always amazed when Lincoln speaks because I sit home and I hear the speeches. I get the revelation, and then when he comes to a forum like this and puts it all together, I'm still in amazement. I still learn. I don't know what kind of multiplying knowledge that is, but I am always still learning and hearing something new, or he'll throw a new angle in there. And actually, it makes it very difficult to come behind him after something like that. That's some big shoes to fill. But anyway, I'm going to do my best. I want to talk to you guys tonight about the 4 P's of marketing and power brands and what they do and what you can do, in fact, to start to create your own power brand. But first, a little about me. I got into marketing in 1997. I came home from school and I needed a job. I had studied broadcasting. And at the time, none of the media agencies were calling back or reviewing my tape or doing any of that. And I needed a job. My aunt at the time was the manageress for Mademoiselle Boutique at the mall. Who remembers Mademoiselle? Who's old enough to remember Mademoiselle? Who was old enough to shop back in those days or with their parents? All right. Well, anyway, she sent me to see Mr. Norman Solomon. And when I got there, like Lincoln said, I had to sell myself because I had a degree in broadcasting. He had no positions open, but he heard me out because my aunt was one of his best managers. So I sat in front of him and he said, well, what can you do? I don't really know what people do in broadcasting. How can that complement my business? And I had to think on my feet. I said, well, Mr. Solomon, I write really, really great radio ads. Is that something that you can use? And he thought about it and he said, yes, actually it is. Do you know anything about marketing? And I said, well, no, sir, but I'm willing to learn. He said, okay, well, we have a deal. And he hired me for $250 a week. And I got the job. But you know what I did from there? I sucked up and I learned as much as I could. Being in that position, let me tell you, this was now back in the day before we had email. Like, companies didn't have email. I would have to pick up the phone and call Jams and tell my agent to drive down to the head office to pick up my cassette tape to run my ads. I would have to tell them to come and get a printout of the print ad to put into the newspaper. So things were really different back then. But each phase of the game throughout my career, I learned what it was. I learned what it took to get a brand out there, to get a business going, to speak to customers, to help them to understand what you were selling, and to make them understand that the product you have is more valuable, like Lincoln said, than the money in your pocket. So I don't know if any of you remember, this would be a real throwback. But back in the day, there were radio ads with Norman Solomon and the late Vivica Watkins. How many people remember those ads? Now you're really showing your age. Yes, but that's what I did. I had created these series of ads that were very, very funny with Norman Solomon and Vivica, and they had like this ongoing little relationship, a tumultuous relationship over Wendy's food, where they would fight for the food and have different things going on. But that really is where I got started. So that lent itself to later on, Mr. Solomon moving me up to when his marketing manager, once again, opportunity. His existing marketing manager was leaving, and he asked me to take over for all of the brands. And at the time, that was Mademoiselle, Adastra Gardens, Marks & Spencer, The Body Shop, Fastenab, Bigger is Better, and Wendy's. So I was thrilled, because here I was now moving up and learning more and growing more and seeing more and doing more. Next up, after my tenure there, I moved on to a local marketing agency, which gave me access to now more corporate brands. I was able to see how Texaco worked, and Doctors Hospital, and Island Queen. Of course, each of the brands always had different needs, whether it was a campaign to launch a new gasoline, or if it was insurance management wanting to open a new office on another island to now cover more of the Bahamas. There was always a different need for each of the products. Then at 24, I decided to become an entrepreneur. And I spent 7 years running my own boutique advertising and marketing agency. In fact, I co-owned it. I had a business partner. And it was called Ad Impact. And here we worked for customers like Furniture Plus and Tommy Hilfiger, Fab Finds, Sherwin-Williams, Global United, the Chamber of Commerce, Charity of Hope Foundation, Boss, Hallmark, and more. So once again, I felt that I was in a position where I got the gift of exposure to a variety of different brands. Now, more recently, in the past 8 years, I've been the marketing manager for Wendy's, Marco's Pizza, and Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. How many of you know those brands? Are y'all hungry tonight? All right, I know I am, but working for those brands gave me a different perspective now, because now I could step out into the LAC market. I could step out into Latin America and the Caribbean. I could exchange best practices with my peers and find out what was working with their communities, with their populations, with their niche markets. And it was just another world of learning. So I really count myself fortunate to have had all of the experiences I've had collectively over the years in dealing with marketing and brands. But what I think is important for entrepreneurs to know, Lincoln, believe it or not, covered really a lot of marketing in what he was saying. But what's important to also realize, I just want to switch so we're up to date, is that there has to be some structure and some strategy around what you do when you prepare to go into business, especially when it comes to your marketing. So you're thinking, okay, I grab a product, pick a random price, stick it in the store, throw some promotions behind it, and I'm good to go. No, not if you want your business to last. There are many other things that you have to consider. And you have to bear with me because I'm clicking between multiple computers. First of all, what is marketing? Marketing is the act or process of selling and purchasing in a market. It's the process and the technique of promoting, selling, and distributing your service. Many people make the mistake of thinking that advertising is marketing, when in fact, that is only a quarter of what is entailed. Marketing can be broken down into 4 elements known as the 4 Ps. Sometimes the Ps are extended to 6, but those 4 Ps are, do I have any volunteers? So say it with me. Exactly, and that's one of the first things that you learn in marketing, the importance of product, price, place, and promotion. Each of those 4 Ps is critical, but you have to consider them holistically. They work together as a team, like 4 wheels on a car, like 4 legs on a table. None can be neglected. Otherwise, whatever your strategy is, it's incomplete, it's vulnerable. So with those 4 Ps, okay, each has to be geared toward your chosen target market, and they must work together. So you really have to know insights about your target consumer. Who are you going after? What are their needs? What are their preferences? What are their wants? How can you best service them to beat out the competition? Businesses with a variety of products have to do this for each product, not just for the business in general. So for instance, a Wendy's double burger versus an apple pecan salad, 2 different thought processes, 2 different opportunities when it comes to pricing, 2 different clientele or demographics that you're speaking to. Well, for the male, let's say 25 to 40, someone with a big appetite, that's who you're going after. With the salad, you're probably looking more at the female, 25 to 40, who's health conscious. So really and truly, your messaging is going to be completely different for those people. The pricing is also going to be different because the raw materials are different. The greens are going to cost a little more to put into that salad. So all of those things have to be considered. So when we look at the product is what you're selling, whether it's a burger, flowers, a coaching service, or software. So it includes every aspect of the product, whatever it takes to make that product the best and to bring it to market. So that's your packaging, how it's branded, anything really that adds value is to be considered as a part of the thought process around your product. Okay, so next up we have number 2, which is price. Now, you would think when people refer to this that price is just the cost of your product, but it isn't just the retail price. It also includes any discounts, any specials, any offers, anything like that that you're going to do to ramp up business. It includes bonuses, payment plans, credit terms, if you're offering furniture and you're financing. How are you going to do that? What is going to be the cost for the financing? What are the monthly payments going to be like? All of those things you have to think about in regards to your price and for your product. It's anything that's related to your customer spend. Number 3 is promotion. And this is the one most people think about when it comes to marketing because they relate it, of course, to the advertising. This promotion is anything to do with getting the name of your brand out there. So that's your advertising, your traditional, your non-traditional in social and new media, your personal selling, you just telling people about your business. That's a promotion. Your sales promotions, the things that you set up with your sales staff in order for them to be able to meet certain sale targets or push certain products. That's still to be considered as a part of your structure and of your strategy. Sponsorships. If your company, if gallery is sponsoring a little league, that all is still a part of promotion. Merchandising. If you are putting your Curly Bell products into Lowe's, you want to have your shelf signage, you want to have your window signage, you want to have things that right away, once people enter the point of purchase, they know to look for your goods. All of these are things to think about. Even your brochures and your marketing comes under your promotion. So number 4, the fourth P that's critical is place and distribution. Lincoln talked about this as well. This refers to how your clients access your product. Technology now has expanded that. It's no longer just the retail stores, the delivery, door-to-door. Now we have drop shipping options. We have downloads if you're a coach, a life coach, or a health coach. You can be selling ebooks and having that product downloaded. But basically, place covers the logistics of each of these methods of getting your product out there. It is the full process of getting your product to market. So let's look quickly at an example of the 4 Ps at work. Let's say your son or your daughter wants to open a popcorn business. He or she has some thinking to do, and you have to coach them along in the process. So first up, you have to decide, are we selling popcorn to kids or are we selling popcorn to adults? Because that's going to influence the decisions you make about your purchasing, about your pricing, about your promotions, and about where you're going to sell. So you have to think, will we carry plain popcorn or caramel popcorn? The sweeter flavor is probably going to be more attractive to the kids. Kids prefer the sweeter corn. Adults may choose the regular. Plain sleeves or colored sleeves for the packaging. You want it to be eye-catching for the kids. Adults may not care. They'll take it as is in the plain. Now, depending on who you're selling to, you want to take into consideration also the cost to produce and how much you can then sell that to the customer for. For kids, they don't have a lot of disposable income, so you'll go lower, $2 for the kids. Now, the adults may have just a little more to spend, so you go $3.50 for the adults, let's say. But all of these things that which you constantly have to be examining and thinking about and putting strategy to as you design your entry into business. How will you promote it? For instance, will you give a 2-for-1 offer for an adult who may have that little extra money that you want to get at that first time purchase rather than counting on a second? For the kids, maybe you want to give them a small loyalty card that you can stamp out every time they come back to you just to encourage the frequency of them coming to use your brand and ensuring that they're not going to go to the lady on the corner who may be selling popcorn out of the back of her trunk. All of these little things add up and really make a difference at the end of the day. So I want to stop right now for the first person who can give me the 4 Ps. Okay, stand up and just shout them out. Do you have a business? Do you want a business? And what product are you thinking about? Okay, but well, they both are selling clothes and food. And of course, Kadar is here, and he could certainly help you even with that, right, Kadar? Clothes and food. Okay, so we have a prize for you. Very good. So everyone else has the 4 Ps. Can we all say it together? Product, price. All right, all right. So I'm going to move on to the next point. Now that we've covered the basics of what you want to consider with your business, with your product, with your strategy, I want to ask you, what is the most powerful tool in your marketing arsenal? Your imagination. Okay. What else? You. What else? Okay. Well, I disagree. I believe that the most powerful tool that you have in your arsenal is the brand of the business. Why I say that is that all of the major companies now that you are loyal to or that sell the best products have legacy brands. They have brands that have stood the test of time. They have brands that command top of mind awareness. That's what Lincoln talked about, where you want to be always on the mind of your consumer. That is what these brands do. But how do they do it? Remember what he said about Nike? Nike never said, buy tennis. They create this thought in your mind that you can do something great with Nike. So it goes so well beyond now just pushing the product. It's controlling the mind. It's influencing the mind, but it's doing it in a way that's authentic because that's what you want to be. We as human beings are very good at pointing out when things are not real, when they're not authentic, when they're not good for us. And now where we're at is that we're much more discerning consumers. We realize that our money and our buying power is our power. So we can choose to support your brand, we can choose to support your company, or we could choose not to. We can make or we can break you. And so it's the brands that are showing concern for the people that they're doing business with by creating sustainable products, by doing no harm to earth, by giving back to communities, by creating quality products that you can depend on, and most importantly, that deliver on the brand promise that your product makes. Those are the brands that are leading the game. Those are the brands that are successful. So I want to do a brand quiz. What is your brand? Is it A, your logo only, B, the fonts you use and logo, C, the slogan and logo, D, the brand colors, logo, and your website, or E, A, B, C, D, and E only? First person to raise their hand. Okay, this lady right here. All of the above. Who agrees with her? Okay. Anyone else? Who thinks it's A? Who thinks it's B? C? D? And we already had E. Okay, so just hold. I thought we'll give you the answer. Who owns the brand? Is it A, the company? In fact, I'll ask the panel. Panel, you guys, who owns the brand? Is it A, the public, B, the company, C, the frontline employees, D, the creative agency, or E, the proprietor? It makes you think, right? Everybody? Miss Gina Knowles says. Darren? Well, let's do this. Who on the panel thinks it's A? Who on the panel says it's B? All right, one brave soul. Who says it's C? Who says it's D? Well, panel, who says it's E? Okay, y'all ready for this? I need a drum roll, please. The answers are... Are you surprised? The brand is none of the above, although all communicate the attributes and aspects of the brand. Decades ago, the brand was owned by the proprietor. You produced a nice logo, and that's your logo, and that's what the brand is, and you stick it on your product, and that's you. But that's not the case anymore. Now the brand is an idea in the mind of the consumer about the product that you deliver to them and the promise that you make to them. That is what the brand is. They interact with the brand. They learn you and what you're about and your mission and your vision and your heart through your brand. It's so much more than a product. It's the essence of what you bring to the table. Remember what Lincoln said as well when he said, it's all about what you bring, what you have, what you're invested in. That's what this is. It's why you got into business. It's why you want to be an entrepreneur. It's why Kadar wants to make people feel great in their clothes and to look great and to be a great representation when they go out there. It's why Galleria chooses to give people a break from reality where they could just immerse themselves in fantasy for a couple of hours and be a kid again and have fun. It's why Curly Bell gives young girls the confidence and older women to wear their natural hair as it is. That it's beautiful exactly as it is, and it can be managed well with her products. These are the reasons. It's so much more than the product. There's heart, and there's passion, and there's belief, and there are reasons that motivated people to go into business beyond just selling a product. There was something else there. And so now I just want to play this video really quickly. I'm not going to be much longer, but I think it's important. And then we're going to move because I know a lot of you have questions for this elect panel, and there are a lot of answers that are going to be given that can also help you in launching out there to start your business. But I believe that this is very important because the video talks about building the brand and what comes through to the consumer when every touch point is in perfect alignment with the mission and the vision that you have when you go into business and decide to have a product.
How to build a brand. I got a great question from one of my Facebook viewers, Emil, love you guys, who wrote in to say, hi Evan, I have a question I believe many entrepreneurs have struggled with. I own a small business with potential to become medium/big, but the barrier to entry is low, and I'm afraid that others, large companies, will copy what I'm doing. How do I prevent that? By the way, I'm selling a food product, and it cannot be patented. Emil, this is a great question, one of my favorite questions that I love answering. If you look at the successful companies, okay, you look at the big brands. If I say Ferrari, it means something to you, right? You feel something. What do you feel? Maybe energy or excitement. If I say the word Nike, you feel something, right? You feel athletics. You know what that company stands for. To build a successful brand, I need to know what you stand for. What's at the soul? What's at the core of your company? And it starts with you, because you're building this thing. What do you stand for? Pick one word, mine's believe. Pick your one word and bring that to everything that you're doing. Because if you look at these successful companies, and it's true, if you can't patent it, that's great, but there's tons of successful companies like Coca-Cola who don't have a patent on their product, and they just use a trade secret. But there are some products, if you look at the drug market, where it is patented, and when the patents expire, there are two companies selling the exact same thing, right? You may have Tylenol with a name brand that everybody recognizes, and then you have the store brand that's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing, but costs 30% less, and people are still buying the Tylenol because of the brand. So you got to figure out your brand, and you got to make people feel something towards you. So you pick your one word, right, what you stand for, and then apply that to everything you do in your business. When I come and look at your website, when I come and see an advertisement that you may do, when I go and look at your business card or a brochure, I want to feel something and learn from these brands. When you look at Nike, go to Nike's website. Okay, look at a Nike flyer. You're not going to be taking out commercials like Nike, that's cool, but you may be doing a YouTube video. Look at what they do, and in every step of the way, you feel the love for athletics. If you're an athlete, you're going to love Nike. You're going to love how they encourage athletics. What am I feeling towards you? That's the same feeling I need to get out of everything that you do. So when I visit your website, I want to get that feeling. Whatever it is you stand for, it should be oozing out of everything that you do. If you do a YouTube introduction and say, hey, I'm Emil, here's what I'm selling, I should feel that word popping out, right? You watch my videos, you feel belief, right? I believe in entrepreneurs. That oozes through everything that I do. You feel that when you hit my website. You feel that when you looked at my business card. I don't use them anymore. But everything that I create is about belief. and that attracts people, and they know what I stand for, and you can't just have somebody come in and try to do the same thing. Even if you took the words that I was saying and gave it to somebody else, they wouldn't have the passionate delivery, and it wouldn't create the same result. So that's the same thing. If somebody comes in and creates the exact same food product as you, it won't sell as well because it doesn't have the feeling behind it. That's what's missing. You want to create a brand, you got to give me feeling. So find your one word, make it important to you, bring it to your business, and express it through everything that you put out there. And that's how you start building a brand. Believe. For those of you watching like the video, you want to see more just like this, subscribe to the channel.
Okay, so did everyone understand that? Did you get it? Did you feel what he said? So it's not such a difficult process. And I would challenge you to say, even before you start with your business, what about your personal brand? What is the one word? Because a lot of times you're pouring a lot of yourself into your business. So that's what's going into it. So what is your personal integrity, your personal standard, your personal, what is it that you want to do? Because that's what you're going to pour into your brand. Okay, so really quickly, still talking about brands. What do great brands do? Okay, so everyone, we're just going to flip through the slides. Shout out what you tell me Nike does. Okay, but how does it make you feel? Stronger. Inspired. You could just get up off the couch and run a marathon in them Nikes. It doesn't matter if you haven't trained all year. But Nike inspires and fuels and fires you up in that way. And they show real people doing just what you want to do. And so when you see the people that look like you think, hey, I could do that too. But it's so much more than tennis. It's like self-esteem in shoes almost, that you could really accomplish those fitness goals. What about this brand? Innovation, sophistication, quality, money, equivalent to stress, creativity. Like you'll never find a graphic artist or creative person who isn't walking around with their Mac laptop or who isn't working on a Mac. That's just the standard for creatives. And this one, who knows what this is? Oh. Who knows what this is? I should have known. I couldn't have been on the screen and no one said anything. Overpriced coffee. But what do you really pay for when you go to Starbucks? The experience. But think about it. And this is how you can start to figure out how to define your brand and your customer experience. What do you like when you go to Starbucks? The coffee, but it's the ambiance. You walk in there and they have that outer worldly, you on vacation music playing. You could smell the aroma of the coffee. Everything looks pristine and magical as though it could, you could skip work and stay in Starbucks all day. In fact, a lot of us would like sometimes to skip work and stay in Starbucks because it's utopia. So that really is what they're pouring into the brand, that experience that will get your day in gear. Even if you had a bad morning so far, you come into Starbucks, they're going to fix that for you. They're going to call your name. And look at how they address the touch points. From the minute you walk in, you smell the aroma. The lighting is different. The music is right. You're being lulled right there, and you don't even realize it. All of that is your brand. All of that somebody sat down and preconceived before they ever thought to sell you the coffee. They thought about the experience that would transcend and cause you to not go to McCafe, but to come to Starbucks. And that is really what the thought process is around brands that gain the market share and prove to be legacy brands. Okay, so let's just recap so we have a total understanding of a brand. A brand is a set of perceptions and images that represent a company, product, or service. It's what your customers perceive and think about you. While many may refer to the brand as a logo, tagline, audio recording, commercials, the brand is actually much larger. It is the essence of the promise of what will be delivered or experienced when people make a purchase from you. Brands enable a buyer to easily identify the offerings of a company. Brands are generally developed over time, and through consistency and focused effort. That's the other thing. You can't come and have a great Starbucks morning today, and tomorrow you come in and the girl face made up and the music ain't right and the light's not on and the place dirty, because it destroys it. Once developed, the brand provides an umbrella under which many other products can now be offered. So you can use this as a launch pad once people know what you're about, to now find other products that deliver the same kind of experience and build out your offering and your profitability and your range and your market share. Now by capitalizing and leveraging off of the brand that you've created. And that's why Oprah can say, Oprah's a brand. She could tell you, buy the book. Michelle Obama can wear a dress and it's gonna sell out. When Oprah talks about a book on her show, it sells out on Amazon, because they are brands and they're influencers. So I want to just quickly touch on brand styling and guidelines, because you also have to protect your brand. It's the reason that all of the logos are trademarked for the big brands. You're not going to see the golden arches anywhere. You're not going to see the mermaid someplace else off the Starbucks cup. No one can take that swoosh and run off with that. All of those things are protected because they have equity. They have value. They represent everything that's tied up in the customer's mind about that brand. And so you have to protect your brand. It means when you design your material, your logo cannot be one shade of blue on the logo, and then another shade of blue on the website, and then another totally different shade of aqua on your business card. Because all of these little subtle things add up to the brand value and the perception that the customer has. Even your fonts, they're fonts that are protected. Wendy's has a collection of fonts they use, and that's it. You can't use any other font than that particular typeface that they use, because customers recognize it. And you pay for that exposure. So after you paid $1 million to blitz and have your logo on stadiums and on buses and everywhere else, you need it to be recognizable when a customer now turns on the TV and sees your ad or opens the paper and sees it. So once you develop the assets for your brand, you have to protect them. You can't allow people to use them, misuse them, and abuse them, because it changes the imagery that's assigned and aligned to your brand. So you want to develop your brand components from the start. You want to choose your font, your colors, note the registration number, because it's an easy way when you go to print that you can ensure you have the same color that's in your design reproduced on whether it's a t-shirt or an envelope, it looks the same. Even little things like how much white space exists between the logo and the wording, all of that comes into the design. All of that is a thought process, and all of that is what has to remain consistent about your visual presentation. You may also want to design different logo uses. And what I mean by that is it's not always practical to have a circular logo. In particular, with the Wendy's logo, we have the cameo face, and we also have the Wendy's word, and they're interchangeable. We can use those in conjunction, or we can use them separate, at least the Wendy's written word apart from the cameo, because it has the equity. The cameo was introduced later, but the word has stood the test of time. So you want to also consider that when you design your logos. Even your product photography tells a story. There are certain angles and certain ways that you want to showcase your product. Some products may only showcase their products in black and white, and it may be for nostalgia. They want to create that feeling around it. But even those little minute details all should still align with whatever your core word, your core brand values, and your creative brainstorm around what you want your brand to represent. It should all tie together. Okay, so I want to talk really quickly also here about the power. Oh, I think this gave up the ghost. The power of a brand. Remember, great brands are born from a clear mission and vision of what they are about and what they will deliver. They connect with the consumer on an emotional level, like Nike. They avoid the hard sell. Instead, they seduce us to buy through emotions. Even think about furniture. A woman wants her house ready for the holidays. She wants to have that brand new living room, or she wants to have her place looking tip-top, so she wants a new dining room table. Like all of those things, it's not about the product, you know. It's about the emotional value. It's about the feeling that she'll have. So once again, we're seduced by our emotions to buy. They represent something, a brand represents something intangible and far more meaningful than just the product sold. And once again, we have Apple, the rebel, the creative, the cutting edge, in the know, in the how. They carry your promise. Your brand will carry your promise to the customer at every touch point and interaction. Think about Mac. If your Mac computer breaks down, you have to make an appointment to have somebody look at it in store, right? You take it into the store, and do you know the name of the person that you make an appointment with? They're called geniuses. So you have to make an appointment to see a Mac genius. That's like clerk, that's their name. They're a Mac genius. Because they're pushing to, that's a touch point. When you come into the store, they're reinforcing, hey, we're the technology geeks. We're on the cutting edge. We're the geniuses. Great brands sweat the small stuff. They're concerned about every aspect of the customer experience from the beginning to the end, from the moment they walk through the door to the moment they walk out, from the moment they access the website to the moment they sign off, from the moment they call customer care to have their problem addressed till the time it's resolved to satisfaction. Big brands and great brands are concerned with those things. Right down to, do you know that there are signature scents that hotels in the United States use? They choose and they license fragrances so that when you go to a Starwood hotel or you go to a Marriott hotel, you know, you walk in after a long day and you get a burst of this refreshing white lily and linen, or, you know, some ocean breeze scent. That's a part of the experience of them welcoming you in so that you could relax and enjoy the hotel. They go so far as to create signature scents that no one else can use, that you then create an association. And any hotel you go into now that it's one of theirs, you have that familiarity. It's almost like coming home. You know the smell of your home. Now you're coming home to a hotel that you recognize. The final great thing of a brand, and a great brand at that, is that they never underestimate the power of the customer experience to make or break them. And we already spoke about Starbucks and how important that is for the barista to remember you after 2 or 3 orders and kind of already know what you want and say good morning and ask you how the kids are doing. Because it's important. They're part of your everyday life, and you want to keep it that way. They want you to keep coming, so they're building a relationship with you. That is a part of even your brand, the relationship building, what your staff are told, what they tell the customers about your brand. All of that is a part of it. Okay, so as takeaways, as I wrap up, I want to say you definitely want to explore and employ the 4 Ps for business success. You want to take your time, do your homework, follow the strategy, and think outside of the box around those 4 pillars. You want to decide to build a power brand and align all of your marketing efforts, customer service efforts, visuals, and design all around what you want and what you expect of the brand and how that brand is going to deliver on the promise to the customer. You want to remain true to your brand. Consistently reinforce what your brand is about at every touch point. Never deviate. Your brand will grow over time through consistency and will develop brand integrity. And as it becomes more identifiable and recognizable, less clarification will be needed over time. People will know you, and they will know your brand. Over time, you will gain trust and credibility and relationships. And relationships are what protect your brand from mishaps, from disasters, from breaches. We're not perfect, and our staff will never be perfect. So someone at some point is going to drop the ball. But guess what? If you have the kind of relationship and the kind of brand that inspires integrity, your customers will forgive you. They will look past it because they will know what the brand is made of at its core. And they won't judge you by the one-off bad experience or the 2-off bad experiences that they may have had. A good example of that would be when the new Coke was introduced a couple of years back. And Coca-Cola was in the soda and beverage wars with Pepsi-Cola. And they had some blind taste test that indicated to them that they needed to change the formula. So what they did is they went out, and I know this too also firsthand because at the time my mom was one of the lab technicians at Coca-Cola. So she was responsible for rolling out the new brand. And I must have only been in primary school. But she was a part of the rollout because Coca-Cola locally had to do the same as the US. And they presented this new Coke. And I remember the first time I tasted that new Coke, and I looked at her and I said, this isn't as good as the old Coke. And see, they should have known. They should have listened to the kids. They should have listened to me. Because I think it was only like a couple of weeks later, there was like a national recall, and Coke apologized and said, okay, we're going back to the old formula. We're sorry about that. Total mistake. But what saved Coca-Cola is the fact that they are one of the oldest and strongest brands in the world. They are a global leader. In fact, Coca-Cola started marketing, believe it or not. And they are, I think, over 100 years old now. But Coca-Cola has an amazing history as a brand. And if you want to learn about brands evolving over time and what really goes into a good brand, look at Coca-Cola, look at the Apples of the world, look at Google. Study them and don't think that your business is too small, because you have to dream big. And you have to think about taking your business to the world. So please, don't think in terms of what's happening now. This may be your training ground. This may be where you're launching your business, but think globally, think internationally, and think of your brand that way. Equip it to go the extra mile from now.